I've got Big Robot News today asking, is Cyberfrog more fun to read than Isom? I don't know how to answer that really. And the reason I don't know how to answer that is because with Isom, there is a sense of there was a much wider sense of potential with Isom than there was in reading Cyberfrog. Cyberfrog is not it has the potential to become a universe full of books. Isom was delivered as the first of a universe of books. And a universe has always, to me, been more attractive than any kind of single entity comic. Uh, this goes back all the way to my days of reading science fiction, which I used to do voraciously. I don't really read much fantasy or science fiction anymore, but very rarely. Maybe if they were really famous ones, like well, even Dune was not really all that famous. Well, I mean, it was famous, of course, but it was not a one-off. It was not a one-off. I used to look for series because I wanted to see that the artist, the writer in this case, for because I was reading prose novels at the time, I wanted to see that the writer was making a serious investment in the world that he or she was building. And the way to do that was to see if there was more than one book. If there's more than one book, then yeah, this was something that was going to have some staying power. If there wasn't more than one book, well, then, why do you really want to get your head embedded in a world that you're going to get into there and then just leave? And so with Cyberfrog, you are immersing yourself in one particular story. And it has yet to branch out into the universe of stories that it is threatening to. Now, with the character Lynx that is coming up, that threatens to bring in more properties into the Cyberfrog world. You've also got the Salamander in comic books, and you've got various supplemental books for Cyberfrog. So a couple more of which I'll be covering in this live stream. But knowing that it's just really one story did not generate as much excitement for me as Isom did, because I knew that Isom was not going to just be generating more Isom books. It was going to be generating Alpha Core. It was going to be generating Yaira. And don't forget, we didn't even know which books were going to be coming out of that at the time. It wasn't until, excuse me, it wasn't until after Isom #1 dropped and Eric saw some of the fanfare, people asking questions about Alpha Core and especially showing tremendous affection for the Yaira character, wanting to find out more about those and basically say, yes, we will be dropping books for those. Now, of course, as time has gone by and we got Isom #2 and then we got Alpha Core #1, the excitement has kind of dwindled because we realize, okay, just because we were excited about the potential doesn't mean that potential is going to be fulfilled. Oh, goodness gracious. So I would say that Isom was actually the more exciting read at the time. Now I'm much more invested in Cyberfrog just because when you get to the end of Wrecked Planet, you do want to know where it's going next. I mean, with Isom #2, you have no freaking clue where this thing's going next. I mean, this thing could go completely off the rails in Isom #3. It's almost like, okay, whatever, just bring this story to a close already, so we can move on to whatever the next fad is. So I would say that now today I am looking much more forward to the Cyberfrog materials to come than I am to the Rippaverse materials to come. Although I do want to see if Yaira turns out to be a decent book. Not really that crazy about getting invested in Bloodruth. I would like to see a second Alpha Core book from Chuck Dixon just to see if the mediocrity is going to continue at that level. I mean, if it's not going to get any better, then I probably wouldn't go on to see a #3 on Alpha Core. And Isom #3, I just want it to be done. Gooding the Polymath, hopefully I will enjoy that. Horseman, you never know. I've seen a couple of the couple of art pieces that they've released so far, and maybe it'll be good. Who knows? It's just at this point you have such low expectations for Rippaverse that if they do manage to land at least a solid book, then yay, good go team. But I mean, you can't really expect much from them now. True fan forum. A grocery list would be more fun to read than Isom. No, that's not true. I mean, no, I mean, having done many grocery lists in my life, I can say that's not true. Let's see. No, I mean, even Isom number 2, there was some excitement around that because you had the wish at least that Eric would improve in his writing. He was being given all sorts of feedback. Unfortunately, most of that feedback he just basically said, I made $3.7 million. I don't need to improve. And that turned out to be not the case. And it reminds me of something somebody said. I don't remember who it was who said this. Maybe it was Dan DiDio. I think Dan DiDio was doing an interview recently, and he was referring back to Todd McFarlane's claim that, look, I can give you a great story, but if I give you a crap artist, I can't sell the story. But you could give me a crap story, and if I give you a great artist, it'll sell the story. And I think it was Dan DiDio who said, that's true maybe for the first or second issue. But as you go on, people will realize that you do not have good quality there. And people will leave because the art will not be enough to carry them forward. And I think that's generally what you're seeing with Rippaverse today. I haven't looked at the Yaira #1 campaign numbers yet, but I do think that they're not going to they're still on their way to not making even the number of purchasers that Alpha Core #1 got. And if that's the case, then that just basically seals the argument on whether Rippaverse's quality is good or bad. It's obviously bad at that point. Now, who knows? I mean, maybe there have been people who have been waiting until the last minute and saving up their money, and now they're gonna buy it and make that purchaser number shoot up at the last minute, or maybe they're gonna go ahead and do a massive campaign, or maybe they'll add in some new products at the end, and people go and buy off of that. It's all possible, but it doesn't look like they've put a lot of effort into marketing their campaign. It feels so lackluster, doesn't it? I mean, maybe it's because I don't follow Eric July anymore at all in terms of him personally. I don't look at his Twitter account. I don't look at his YouTube channel. I'm just not interested in really the things that he has to say. Mainly because a lot of what he has to say is either content free. He's just basically giving opinions on the business and how things work in the comic book world and stuff like that. And I'm just like, I don't care. I'd like to hear more about the company. I'd like to hear more about the properties. Unfortunately, everything around the Rippaverse is so tight-lipped. Even the Documon cards don't tell you anything. That you don't have anything to... that was one of the things that really blows my mind is that he keeps saying that he wants to create a universe where people are buzzing about it, where people are, talking and exchanging ideas and exchanging stuff. And I don't know. I don't see that. And maybe I'm just not looking into the right forums, but I don't see anything to talk about because all of these NDAs and whatnot, they're all blocking people from revealing any information about these characters and about where the Rippaverse is going. I don't think anybody knows where the Rippaverse is going. I think this is all being developed on the fly. And it would be nice if we had kind of some idea of stuff coming out in the future, and maybe that will be forthcoming. I don't know if it's just impatience on my part that's just making my enthusiasm drop to such low levels where I just don't have any expectations. And so maybe I'll be in a better place to be surprised. I don't know. Big Robot News today. Do you think Comicsgate and Rippaverse might die out when their YouTube fans get old? I see them as YouTube merch. I think it depends more on the creators than the fans, because fans will rotate in and out, I think. But the creators themselves, I mean, as they, eventually die off, they will be replaced by who? Who can replace Ethan Van Sciver in that? I mean, I know he talked about the other day, if somebody were to assassinate him or something, and who would carry on? Who would be the vice president of Comicsgate or something? And he named John Malin. But I don't know if John Malin's really enough to carry it. I mean, him and Shane Davis combined, I don't know if they could really carry it the way that Ethan Van Sciver's been carrying it, because Ethan's just such a bombastic personality. It's really on the strength of his personality that it's really on the strength of, when you look at Eric July's success and you look at Ethan Van Sciver's success, I mean, it's really both been a lot on the strength of their personality as well as what talents they have to bring. Eric July much more on the personality than on the talent side, and Ethan Van Sciver has much more on the talent side to speak of. But all of those things also were talents that he developed over time. I liked hearing the fact about why he talked so softly in his earlier videos, and how he changed that over time as his fans' tastes changed, I guess. So it was interesting to hear about how he developed the skill set to be the constant live streamer that he is today, as well as being a comic book artist. That's one of the things that Scott Adams recommends too, is you need to build yourself a skill stack. Give yourself a stack of skills that work well together. If you can make yourself into a video presenter as well as whatever it is that you're doing, then you have a way to market yourself. And that winds up being a multiplier. So a number of skills that you can put together that work well together is better than one skill that you can do really, really, really well. Because there's generally always going to be a better virtuoso than you out there, but somebody who is a virtuoso in something and who can combine that talent with various other disciplines is going to be much more valuable.